Have you ever wondered why some people feel more alive in silence than in a crowded room? Why being alone doesn't scare them, it restores them. Why they don't chase attention, approval, or noise? Because their peace feels better than any social validation? Your title, The Psychology of People Who Love Being Alone, taps into one of the most misunderstood traits in adulthood, the desire to choose solitude without calling it loneliness. And your thumbnail text, Why I Prefer My Own Company, strikes directly at the heart of millions who secretly feel the same. Because for them, solitude isn't an escape. It's clarity, safety, healing, and control. This combination works because it doesn't just promise explanations, it promises relief. Relief for the viewer who thinks something is wrong with wanting space, when in reality it may reveal a deeper, healthier, more powerful psychology than anyone realizes. And that emotional truth is exactly why they'll click, and why they'll stay until the end. Have you ever felt more drained after being around people, even if nothing went wrong? Have you ever wondered why your happiest moments sometimes happen when you're completely alone? Why silence feels safer than conversations you don't really want to have? Why you feel misunderstood when people say, "You're too quiet," even though solitude is where you feel most yourself? Why the world expects you to be social, but your mind feels clearer the moment you're finally left alone? For so many adults, being alone isn't a weakness. It's the only place where their thoughts settle, their energy resets, and their identity feels real. But society often labels people like this as distant, antisocial, or emotionally closed. And that misunderstanding creates a hidden insecurity. Is something wrong with me because I prefer my own company? Yet the truth is far deeper and far more powerful. Because the psychology behind loving solitude reveals strengths most people overlook, and we're about to uncover all of them. Inside the mind of someone who loves being alone, there's a quiet confidence the world rarely sees. Solitude isn't an escape from people, it's a return to themselves. Their thoughts feel clearer when no one is interrupting or evaluating them. Their emotions feel lighter when they don't have to perform socially. Their creativity grows in silence, where ideas can breathe without pressure. They don't fear the world, they just function better when they're not absorbing everyone else's energy. Being alone gives them control over their environment, their pace, and their emotional space. It's where they process life, recharge their mind, and rediscover their balance. Crowds can feel chaotic. Noise can feel overwhelming. And constant interaction can drain them faster than people realize. So while others chase attention or stimulation, solitude lovers chase clarity, comfort, and stability. Not because they dislike people, but because being alone is where they feel most grounded and most authentically themselves. For many people who love being alone, the root of this preference goes deeper than personality. Some grew up finding peace in their own space because the outside world felt unpredictable. Others learned early that solitude was the only place they could think clearly without criticism or noise. Introversion can play a big role, making their brain naturally crave low-stimulation environments. Highly sensitive people are especially drawn to solitude because their nervous system absorbs more emotional and sensory input than others. Past overwhelm, whether emotional, social, or relational, can also shape a deeper need for space. Some choose solitude because they've outgrown chaos, drama, or relationships that drain them. Others prefer it because they feel misunderstood in large groups but fully understood when they alone with their thoughts. Self-reliant people love solitude because it reinforces their independence and inner strength. And for many, being alone is the only time they don't have to perform, please, or pretend. Solitude becomes freedom, not isolation. A place where they can breathe without pressure, think without interruption, and exist without judgment. When you look closely, loving solitude isn't about avoiding people, it's about choosing peace over chaos and authenticity over performance. People who love being alone rarely announce it. Their behaviors quietly reveal the truth. They enjoy long stretches of quiet time without feeling bored or restless. They don't mind canceling plans because solitude genuinely feels better than forced socializing. They take solo walks, solo drives, or solo coffee breaks, not to escape people, but to reconnect with themselves. They guard their personal space like it's sacred because to them it is. They prefer deep conversations over small talk, which drains them faster than silence ever could. They disappear from social circles for days or weeks and it doesn't bother them at all. They are extremely selective about who they let into their inner world. Crowds overwhelm them, but being alone energizes them. They enjoy hobbies that don't require others: reading, writing, gaming, creating, exploring. And when they finally return to social settings, it's only after they've recharged alone. To the outside world, it might look like isolation, but to them, it's balance, clarity, and emotional survival. People who love being alone often develop strengths that others overlook. They build powerful self-awareness because solitude forces them to confront their thoughts honestly. Their decision-making improves since they're not influenced by noise, opinions, or pressure from others. They become emotionally self-reliant, able to soothe themselves without needing constant reassurance. Their creativity deepens because silence gives their mind the space to wander, imagine, and innovate. They handle problems more calmly, since constant stimulation isn't pulling their attention in every direction. They form stronger boundaries, knowing exactly what drains them and what restores them. They develop resilience from navigating life without depending heavily on external validation. Their relationships, though fewer, become more meaningful because they choose depth over quantity. Their solitude sharpens their intuition, helping them read people and situations more accurately. And perhaps most importantly, they build a life that feels internally stable, not shaped by trends, expectations, or social pressure. What others label as isolation is often a sign of someone who has mastered the art of inner strength. People often misunderstand loners. But here's the truth most people never see. People who genuinely love being alone develop a psychological foundation that many others secretly wish they had. First, they possess emotional independence. They do not chase validation, approval, or constant reassurance. Their self-worth is built internally, not borrowed from others. That makes them calmer, more grounded, and harder to manipulate. Second, they become deep thinkers by default. When you are comfortable with silence, your mind becomes sharper, more reflective, and more strategic. Solitude gives them the space to analyze life without noise, which is why loners often make better long-term decisions. Third, they build strong self-regulation. When you spend time alone, you learn how to manage your emotions, redirect your thoughts, and stay in control of your reactions. This gives them a level of psychological discipline many people never master. Fourth, they develop creative depth. Solitude fuels imagination. Whether it's writing, building ideas, or thinking through personal goals, people who love being alone often tap into creativity that thrives without interruption. And finally, the most powerful strength of all, they become emotionally self-sufficient. They enjoy people, but they do not need people to feel whole. That kind of self-sufficiency is rare. And it is exactly what gives them a quiet, unshakable confidence. These strengths are not visible at first glance, but they shape a person in ways that make solitude not a weakness, but a superpower. Loving solitude is powerful, but it also comes with emotional risks most people never notice. And these hidden vulnerabilities often shape the inner world of those who prefer their own company. First, many solitary individuals develop selective emotional exposure. They open up to very few people, not because they are cold, but because they have been disappointed, misunderstood, or drained in the past. This creates a strong filter, but it can also make genuine connection harder to find. Second, their independence can turn into over-isolation without warning. They are so comfortable being alone that they sometimes pull back too far, retreating into routines that protect them, but also limit their opportunities to grow, trust, or be supported. Third, they may experience emotional fatigue in social environments. Even when they enjoy being around others, too much stimulation feels overwhelming. Crowds, small talk, and constant interaction drain their energy faster than people realize. Fourth, they often carry unspoken expectations. Because they understand themselves deeply, they quietly hope others will meet them at that same emotional depth. But when people don't, it can feel disappointing or even alienating. And finally, their solitude sometimes masks a deeper truth. They have built a world where they feel safe, but they rarely allow others to enter it. Not because they do not want connection, but because they fear losing the peace they worked so hard to create. These vulnerabilities do not make them weak. They make them human, thoughtful, self-aware, and protective of their inner world.